Polymarket is now pricing 80% odds that the Federal Reserve makes zero rate cuts in 2026. Just 2 weeks ago, that number was 66. Goldman Sachs has abandoned their December rate cut forecast entirely and has moved it to 2027. And in 8 days, Jerome Warsh heads his first Federal Open Market Committee meeting as Fed chair. And a rate hike can now be decided by a simple coin flip. If you have a deal in underwriting right now, the next 8 days could decide what that's going to cost you. I'm Robert with OpenLane Funding in Spokane Valley, Washington, and this is just day one of our 2-week series covering the most important weeks in real estate finance all year. Let me give you the rate picture first because everything else flows from it. Freddie Mac's weekly survey came in at 6.48% as of June 4th. That is down 5 basis points from 2 weeks ago, even though the 10-year Treasury rose about 13 basis points to 4.58%, and that's after the jobs report. The spread compression is a signal that the mortgage market is pricing in a stability at this level. For DSCR specifically, if you on a prime transaction, you're still looking at rates of about 5.8% to 6%. That is actually a slight improvement from about 2 weeks ago, and because the DSCR spread compression. Inside the non-conforming markets noted that demand for DSCR product is exceeding supply, which is pushing for DSCR rates to actually be closer to the conventional pricing. Now on Wednesday, it'll bring the May CPI report, and they are forecasting right about 4.2% headline year over year. And if it comes in above that level, expect another 10 to 15 basis points upward pressure on the mortgage rates, and you should expect that immediately. But if it comes in cooler, then we may see a brief endo back towards the 6.4%. Now make sure that you lock your deals right now within the next 15 days if you have one in progress, because that meeting is probably going to make the rates higher. And that meeting is going to be scheduled right now for June 16th and 17th. The 3 home price indexes has also dropped since our last series. The FHFA, Case-Shiller, and Totality all confirm the same thesis with hard data. The Northeast and Midwest are carrying national markets. FHFA's first quarter data has Elgin, Illinois at plus 10% year over year. San Francisco is sitting at 9% year over year. Chicago is at plus 7.1%. And Bridgeport, Connecticut is also at 7.1%. The Case-Shiller's March 20th composite came in at plus 0.8% nationally. Chicago was the top performer in that composite at 6.1%. Totality upgraded its 12-month national forecast to 5.3 by April 2027. On the other end, Austin is the worst of the 100 tracked FHA metros by negative 6.9% year over year. Seattle is now the worst performer in the Case-Shiller 20 city composite at negative 2.5%. That's a direct downstream signal for Spokane, which correlates with the Pacific Northwest price trends. Zillow cuts its 12-month national forecast to negative 0.1%. That is the widest gap between Zillow and Totality in recent memory. For underwriting, make sure you're using the plus 2.5% as a base case and use Zillow's number as a stress case, just to be prudent. The national picture is in one sentence. If you're buying in the Northeast and Midwest appreciation, for appreciation, there you go. If you're buying in the Northeast and Midwest for appreciation, the data confirms that thesis. Now, if you're buying in the Pacific Northwest or the Sun Belt, your deal has to work on cash flow alone because odds are that prices are going to only go down or maybe stay stagnant. The rental picture is also improving at margins. The Yardi Mays report flipped year-over-year rent growth from negative 0.2% to positive 0.2%. And that's a first positive reading in months, which is fantastic. But for context, that's gross advertised rent. Real Page's effective asking rent, which accounts for concessions, is still negative 0.2% year over year. And for context, May's concession rate was at 17%. That's the highest for that month since 2023 or 2013, sorry. So it's a long time. The recovery signal is in single family rentals. Invitation Homes reported blended lease growth of 2.5% in April and in May, and the AMH was at plus 1.2% new lease growth. Neither is offering concessions. The recovery is happening, and it's happening at the top of the quality stack first. So supply is the good news. CoStar's 2026 delivery forecast is now approximately 385,000 units, and that's down from 27% year over year. That's the lowest since 2019. The demand supply inflection is forecast for early 2027, and this is going to be a trough year. So just a quick pause. This is the kind of breakdown. If this is the kind of breakdown that you actually want before the Fed meeting next week, hit subscribe now. I'm dropping content every single day this week, and you do not want to miss this post. FOMC reaction is going to happen next Wednesday, and hit that bell if you want that notification. You also follow my Facebook as well because you're going to get a lot more information as deep down is going to be broken down. So just let me know. OpenLane funding. The macro picture heading into June 16th is also going to be generally contradictory. May's jobs came in at a positive 172,000 against what they were hoping for. Consensus was at 80,000. The April was revised up 64,000. The 3-month payroll average is now sitting at 188,000. And that's not a labor market that supports rate cuts. But Q1 GDP second estimate was revised down 1.6%. And the GDP's now Q2 estimate dropped from 4.3% to 3% in just two updates. The University of Michigan consumer sentiment came in at 44.8 on the final May reading. That's the all-time low since the survey began in 1952. That's worse than 2008. Oil is now back at uh, $95 after Iran ceasefire talks collapsed June 1st. ISM service prices hit 71%. That is the highest since August of 2022. New tariffs on 60 to 87 countries were announced June 3rd. And at 10 to 12.5%. And that's effective of July 2026. The building materials are not exempted. The Fed's Besiege book characterized this as a K-shaped economy, and the upper income households are largely intensive. The middle and lower income cohorts are squeezing every dollar. I'm not sure how many of you guys also are playing around on the stock markets, but right now it looks like everything is going down. I know my reports that I pull on Sunday did not show any good keepers for me to want to purchase. So keep an eye out because it looks like we are in a reset mode on the stock market. Prices are starting to come down. Now, the best local news of the series is the Spokane maize medium close price. It flipped to positive 2.8% year over year at 437,500. That's after a 3 months of negative year over year readings. And this is generally a positive turn. Active inventory is also up at 14.3%, which is fantastic. Month over month, and that is to 1,400 homes. Then that gives us a supply of about 2.7%, and that's still, which is still listed this as a seller market. In Kootenai County, days on market is compressed dramatically. Post Falls is now at 26 days. Hayden is at 21 days. The CDA MSA unemployment rate dropped from 5% to 4.2% in April. That's Idaho's largest monthly non-farm gain. And Idaho's statewide unemployment is at 3.6% compared to Washington's, which is about 5.2%. That labor divergence is now showing up directly in rental demand and deal performance. Spokane permitted 318 housing units in April, the highest April permit count since 1993. Here's what's coming this week. Wednesday brings us May CPI, the most important single data point before the FOMC. Thursday brings May PPI and the Adam report, May foreclosure report. Friday, I'm dropping the economic indicators and the spring market picture with a full investor action plan. Then, Monday, June 16th, the day that the FOMC begins, I'm going to go deep on the Spokane and Coeur d'Alene with all the local data. And Friday, June 20th, I am going to close the series with the hottest and coldest markets nationally and complete action plan incorporating whatever the Fed does on the 17th. Lock your deals in this week. If your lender is dragging, call me. Links in the description. I'm Robert with OpenLane Funding. See you Wednesday, everyone.